Over the weekend, Nick Saban and Donald Trump both spoke at Alabama's commencement address. There were reports that Nick Saban had been talking with Donald Trump about ways to deal with NIL. As we know, there is a House settlement coming. Tommy Tuberville had been working with former Senator Joe Manchin to address NIL. They couldn't get a bill that they wanted last year, but Tommy Tuberville is still working on it. He's close with Nick Saban. A report came out now that, and it came out over the weekend, that Donald Trump is giving, quote, serious consideration to signing an executive order that would address payments to college athletes, a person familiar with the matter confirmed to USA Today. The person requested anonymity. Trump's view of the matter comes in the wake of a conversation he had with Saban. The order could potentially add oversight to name, image, and likeness, or NIL. And how the order would address it, though, was not immediately clear. Wall Street Journal first reported Trump considering the action. And it would help align with Saban, who's been highly critical of the current state of college sports. And now Ted Cruz is working on trying to pass a bill that would help deal with the NIL thing too. And Saban says that athletes' personal development is being hindered by the unregulated market of NIL. So what can Donald Trump do? Well, there are already court cases over him withholding funds from colleges and things like that over some other things. I don't want to get into that. I'm not trying to be political. Theoretically, he does have, you could maybe say under the Higher Education Act, certain power to leverage schools to abide by certain NIL stipulations that even the NCAA wouldn't have. Here's the problem, and here's the fundamental problem that is going to hinder Donald Trump as much as it would hinder Congress. The Sherman Antitrust Act is still on the books, and the Sherman Antitrust Act was passed by Congress in the late 1880s. And Donald Trump can't just overturn that with the stroke of a pen. Congress would have to overturn that. They're not going to overturn the Sherman Antitrust Act. They can modify it, but there's no way you can overturn that. That's how you make sure there's fair competition among companies in this country. There is no way to limit NIL money. None. People are confusing with NIL with paying players. And I'm partially at fault for this because I have let you guys think it all goes into a pot, because it does all go into a pot. Effectively, you're just pulling money. Here's how it's in a pot, though. What a booster might spend to help a university renovate a stadium, they'll instead spend on giving a player an endorsement. And then the university will have to find another way to make money to get the revenue to upgrade their facilities. That's how NIL is really working right now. The problem is you can maybe there's definitely ways you can regulate schools paying players. You guys can talk about players unionizing. I'm all for that. But a unionization where the schools pay the players isn't going to stop NIL, because NIL is endorsement deals. Endorsement deals have nothing to do with what the school would pay the players or what agreements the players would enter into. Nothing. They are technically on the side. And a booster can give a player any type of endorsement he wants under that guise to get that player to come play football for his university. There's no way to stop that. And there's no legal way to stop it. And there should not be a legal way to stop it. Okay? The NFL, you guys want to talk about a salary cap in the NFL, and everybody keeps thinking about that and how teams pay players. But the salaries is one thing. There's no limitations on the endorsement deals players can get. Outside of that, the NFL can't do that. That's a total antitrust violation to do that. And it would be the same for college football. There is no way Donald Trump or Congress or the NCAA or the schools could sit there and tell a player that they can't make as much money as they want in an unregulated market on NIL, because it would directly violate the Sherman Antitrust Act. Now, maybe I don't know the full laws of the Antitrust Act, but maybe there are ways where the president himself and how he enforces it, because the president typically enforces, the executive branch enforces the laws carried out by Congress. So they could maybe put something in there through an executive order that determines, okay, we'll carve out an exception here with NIL and things like that. But there's no way that the Antitrust Act, as it's written, could stop a player from going to a booster and saying, I want this amount of money. I mean, how do you do that? That's the problem with this whole scenario, guys. And there's no real true way to regulate it. And again, the real problem is no one has actually brought up an effective way or fair way to regulate it. Why should a player not be allowed to make as much money as he can through his endorsements and his name, image, and likeness? Again, NIL is not what the schools would pay the players. That's not the same thing. Right now, the schools are helping the players find ways to get NIL endorsements through collectives that the schools have partnered with to streamline it. But technically, the NIL money, there is no legal way to regulate NIL money. This is not about a principle of paying players. This is not about a principle of player development. Those things you can all have a conversation about, and they're lovely, and they're wonderful. And I wish the clouds would part and life would be perfect and we could be kings and set the rules to make the world perfect. That's not how this is, okay? There are laws on the books that do not let you hinder a player's opportunities to make money off their name, image, or likeness. That does not come from the school. So what could Donald Trump do through an executive order? I mean, what could Donald Trump do? And I'm going to set that up as the poll question. First, the original poll question, which Tennessee head coaching hire was the worst on its face without the benefit of hindsight? Lane Kiffin, Derek Dooley, Butch Jones, Jeremy Pruitt. Derek Dooley leads at 50%, Butch Jones at 0%, Jeremy Pruitt at 33%. Now Lane Kiffin at 11% and Derek Dooley at 56%. I'm going to change the poll question now to this, okay? And by the way, this is what the H. The question is going to be, do you support any executive action to curb NIL? Say yes, it's gotten out of hand. No. No, the government shouldn't limit player pay. Shouldn't cap pay. Or how about this? No, the government can't cap player pay. Okay, here we go. Do you support any executive action to curb NIL? Yes, it's gotten out of hand. No, government can't cap player pay. I'm leaning on no, government can't cap player pay. I mean, I'm sorry. It's just, I don't think it's a good idea at all for this. Nothing that would be done would be legal on that front. And that's the issue. What the H, brought to you by Double D Piping.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beaten. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping.
All right, so it's up there now. You guys take a look at it. Do you support any executive action to curb NIL? Yes, it's gotten out of hand. No, government can't cap player pay. I'm not like one of those keep the government out of everything type of guys. I just don't know a way the government can get involved in this. There's already a congressional law on antitrust laws, and I don't think there's any way to fix that. And there's no way to regulate it either. How do you regulate players making money off their own name? I mean, should the government be allowed to step in and say, oh, well, this car company wants to do an endorsement with this player, but you can't do it because you already have this much money in endorsements elsewhere, and that would give this school that you're at an unfair advantage because that car company is a booster for the school. I mean, that makes no sense, guys, right? I just don't think that you can do that. The only way you can maybe find a legal loophole is say that it doesn't count as an endorsement deal if you are technically a booster for the school. And maybe set a guideline. Maybe this is the fix. Set a guideline for what constitutes a booster for the school. And that guideline would then come around to say, if you are technically a booster for a school, then if you give an endorsement to any player for that school, you are technically not giving them advertising revenue. Maybe that's a workaround with the Antitrust Act, but man, I don't think the courts would be able to really solve that situation. That's a tough one to figure out, okay? So that's going to be our final poll question. We're going to leave it up for the rest of the day. You guys give us your thoughts. I just think that there's not really a lot you can do with this situation. I think it just is what it is with NIL, and I don't think there's any way to fix it.